Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Masters of Marketing. Really happy to have somebody on today that we've been trying to record with for quite some time, and we've just had many technical difficulties. And Helen just mentioned before she got on here that she was on here nice and early. She's been sitting on the call since yesterday afternoon, I think, just waiting. But no, I've got Helen on who's the Director of Marketing Effectiveness and Strategic Projects at Springer Nature. Springer Nature are also a customer of MARMIND. So Helen also has been working with MARMIND now for how many years?
Oh, good question. 2 years, 2.5,
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we also meet quite a lot of events stuff, and Helen's also a champion of MARMIND, I would say, also an evangelist of MARMIND, which is great to see customers also be very happy customers as well. So a bit of Helen's background as well. So right now she's the Director of Marketing Effectiveness and Strategic Projects. Before that, she was the Head of Marketing Effectiveness, Senior Marketing Manager before that. Also had additional 4 other positions in Springer Nature as well. Has been working as a marketing coordinator for DAC prior to that at another organization, Mega International. And before that was Junior Marketing, Advertising and Sales Manager at Enomics. And before that, other experience. Helen comes from Canada, but is based in Germany. And yeah, Helen, really happy to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad we finally made it work. I've
gone
right for the iPhone. You can trust that it'll work.
We did it. Hey, tell me a little bit about like what you do. Or first of all, tell the audience a bit what Springer do, and then we'll get into what you do.
Yeah, fab. So Springer Nature is. Whoa. that was gonna happen, right?
It's fine.
We've given up. So Springer Nature is an international scientific publishing organization. So we're the second largest scientific academic publisher in the world. We publish across every discipline and pretty much every format as it goes as well, whether that's in our 2,500 academic journals or the 15,000 books that we publish a year, as well as a whole slew of products and services and solutions to help researchers make the most of their work at the end of the day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how big is the marketing team there?
Our marketing team across all of Springer Nature's groups is probably around 500 people. So I work within our research organization, which is the largest. We've got about 300 marketers worldwide, sitting about 20 odd offices, 15 countries. So it's quite a global organization that we're working through. Hence the high level of need for coordination, collaboration, and transparency.
Which is where MARMIND comes into play, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear more about your role in particular. So you focus on marketing effectiveness and strategic projects. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's probably the longest title I've certainly ever had and that one ever needs. But when I have to explain what it is that I do, I kind of lean more on the director of marketing gap filling. So with every large marketing organization, there are always areas that could be improved, sometimes ones that we know of and sometimes ones that we don't. So together with my team, I'm responsible to kind of explore the possibilities that we have around our marketing organization, kind of what's working, what's not, where are opportunities, like working essentially as internal consultants to help drive change, build innovation, and sometimes that's small, process improvement, sometimes that's big in terms of how we collaborate across the organization and with our partners. So it takes a lot of different forms, right from, skills, whether it's skills development, process development, outside the box thinking. Yeah, lots of different things. That's kind of what makes it a great role. Lots of fun.
So are you very generally process driven, like in life? Because I would imagine somebody that's in that role would be everything needs to run in a process. You're a Canadian that moved to Germany, so obviously you like some
some form of structure and order. That's probably the irony, is I see everything in processes, but realize where processes also have their limitations. Probably most well known for creating processes that I turn around and try and break. It's how can I most efficiently walk from my computer to the coffee machine within the 2 minutes that I've got between this call and the next one. Is thinking through that as a process of as a process, a series of steps of things that happen, and understanding where you can change or develop something in order to make it run more smoothly. Or really, I think particularly in the market in a marketing context, trying to figure out where you can remove steps in order to make things run more smoothly, where we've got potential to automate and what it would take in order to do that.
Mm.
Um,
Let's talk about the automation piece then. So, like,
yeah.
obviously, you've been involved now in rolling out MarMind internally there at Springer, right? You've been the product owner yourself and Bjorn, or
No,
no?
so I'm not. Bjorn's definitely the product owner. At the point in time, the I was given the question of how do we make our marketing organization run more smoothly. We had a series of systems that were coming towards end of life, combined with quite a sizable restructuring that shook up how it was that our teams were supposed to be working with each other, the development of specialists and specialist functions, and the ability to kind of communicate amongst them while creating a level of transparency that's helped our strategic organization understand what on earth's going on at any given moment. So that was kind of the broad challenge that I was given at the time. And we didn't go in looking for a marketing resource management system. I think I've probably gone on record before saying that I had no idea what a marketing resource management system was before I encountered it as part of the process of selection, because I'm really far more driven by what do we need to solve, and
Mm.
how we do that is quite secondary. Well, it
Interesting.
becomes important, but figuring out what you need to solve is generally a pretty big part of the process for me.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's interesting when the marketing resource management thing. I think when did you guys sign with Marmind? What year was it? Or when did you start looking? When did you start looking?
22?
22. Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
the MRM space has probably exploded around the end of 2022,
yeah,
2023. For various reasons. I also think that there's been more exposure from the likes of Forrester Research and also
yeah,
places like Gartner and so on. So for example, with Forrester, they have a dedicated MRM wave, which is
yeah,
dedicated just to marketing resource management, and that sort of came out around that time as well. So like that sort
yeah,
of
checks out.
exploded, you know. Um, but it's no super interesting. Like when you're talking about the marketing team that you have in place, there like 500 people globally, all with different reporting structures, all different teams working on different things, and it being like how many countries do you guys operate across?
Pretty much any country that researches,
Okay,
we're somehow in the market. We've got across Springer Nature, I think we've got offices in about 50 countries,
there you go.
and just from our research marketing organization, we're in at least 15 of them.
Yeah, and just even to keep things consistent, about
Yeah,
what certain teams are doing, or at least to have the knowledge about what certain teams are doing. I guess Marmite plays a big role, right?
exactly. Consolidating a data landscape and understanding, finding the baseline so that things become comparable at all. Um, whether that's looking backwards at what's already been done, or understanding what's coming. Probably the unsexiest topic in the world is that of naming conventions, but they're so fundamental to working across large organizations, and the ability to codify and 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 build the discipline that people use it, either by systematically um, or education. It's it's essential.
For sure. I mean, like you've mentioned the naming conventions there. Was that the biggest measurable impact that you'd say that you've had? Like, what's something that you could say is like, wow, this has actually changed how we do things, or it's something that we can measure.
So I wouldn't actually say that's a naming convention, because we had a naming convention before. So when we went into we were looking for an MR, or what turned out to be an MRM, and ended up being Marmind at the end of the day. Um, one of our big needs at that time was to be able to build in elements of our naming convention, which we then expanded, building in different components of it. But what we have done is we've created kind of a central place to move information, and particularly around budget oversights. That's really important, because I mean, I think everybody's been in the situation where you're just chasing people to try and figure out how much money have you spent. how much do we have left? And as you're running towards the end of the year, I think we're just coming off the Q4 sweat, which is, the weekly check-in of like, have we spent all of our budget? Are we going over? Are we staying under? In a world led by, digital marketing, we're talking about money that's ticking out every minute of every day across hundreds of channels across the world. So keeping that consolidated is really important.
Visibility that will enable you to remain efficient, basically, is what I'm hearing, right?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so look, let's change lanes a little bit. So, like a lot of one of the things you mentioned before was around change, right?
Yeah.
And there's one thing that people love, it's change.
I
Right?
love change.
Well, so like this, my experience with change management is that it's like pulling teeth, as we'd say in Ireland. It can be a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So this is probably one of the major parts of your role, though, right? Change management.
Yeah, absolutely. There are big changes, there are little changes, but either way, recognizing that people are going through a process of doing thing one way and having to do it another way, and recognizing the information that they need and giving them the information that they need as adults, not as children, to be able to productively move forward, so that they don't just, so we don't just stop. That's we can't definitely not getting away from change within a marketing organization. Like, we're often at the forefront um of those opportunities, particularly, hate throwing in the word, AI is not the answer to everything, but AI is certainly having a big impact on marketing right now, and helping people through the process of understanding what it's going to give them and what we expect them to take away, is also a change process, even if one that's not particularly defined. Recognizing that there are other influences that are coming into any change process.
Mm-hmm. Has there been, what are the biggest difficulties for you personally when it comes to change management? So, like, if you're talking about a 500 person marketing organization, you're
Yeah,
trying to herd cats,
yeah.
it's a lot of cats to herd.
There's a lot of cats. A lot of cats. I love cats. Secret crazy cat lady. But I think the hardest thing in being in any position of trying to move change forward is recognizing, accepting the fact that you're going to repeat yourself an awful lot, and don't assume that somebody's heard something that's super familiar to you. Repetition is super important, particularly in a dispersed organization where you're not talking to everybody at the water cooler. They're not overhearing your conversations. Like, I spend 80% of my time in home office. Nobody's overhearing me. So people only hear what you've told them, and that means you are repeating yourself in different constellations an awful lot, and that can't be underestimated.
And I guess it comes in layers as well. So you probably need to be dealing with, or you need to be dealing with management as well as people on the ground, or you let the management deal with the people on the ground, or how would you? So again, in a dispersed marketing org like what you're seeing at Springer, it's 500 people. Across those 500 people, I don't know how many are in middle management, how many are in top management across that. And you, for example, need to implement a tool. Let's take, for example, MARMIND, because it's what we're talking about here. You need to go and implement MARMIND across a 500 person marketing organization. How are you attacking that from a like
Yeah.
who are you trying to get aligned with? Are you going straight to the people on the ground, or is the information flowing down, or how's it working?
Um, Everybody at the end of the day. But everybody recognizing that different people need different information because they're going through different levels of change. So if you take an example of any kind of systems change, Marmind or otherwise, people's roles and their responsibilities and their interactions with any given system are going to be different. And recognizing that on the basis of that experience and on the basis of both your past and future expectation around them, you need to tailor what it is that you're talking to them about, and set their expectations accordingly. Because you can't, if you speaking to everybody with one tone and one voice, you're going to miss the mark in 80% with 80% of the people you're speaking to. Our management team needs different information than somebody who's going to go into the system 5 times a year to update costs, because it's going to have a different, they're using different parts of a system. They're yeah, and so they need different information. Full stop.
You must have the patience of a saint when it comes to that, because I know, like having been in organizations, large
Yeah.
organizations that are implementing new technologies, you're typically taking over for another technology or another way of doing things. Maybe there's no technology there, but there was a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
And the immediate thing is always better the old way. Oh, how we used to do it was so much better.
Yeah.
Oh, if we could only go back and do it that old way that we used to do it.
Yeah.
So
I'm
how
a
much of that do you need
massive
to deal with?
Oh man, I'm massively laughing at that right now because we're also gone through the process of going from a Google suite to a Microsoft suite. And Microsoft is different than the last version of Microsoft. So the number of times a day that I'm saying I can't find anything. I knew how to do it in the old system. It's the baseline efficiency thing is if it takes me 10 times longer to find what I'm looking for, that's time that I don't get back anywhere else. And so kind of going through that and recognizing that in any other process that you're part of changing is really helpful, and also setting your own expectations for how fast you anticipate people moving, particularly if they're moving, you're moving through something in phases. Some people are going to be using the system earlier and they're going to know more, and you're going to have a differentiation of knowledge across your organization. And that does require a heck of a lot of patience. And I give massive props to mention Bjorn before, but Bjorn and the rest of the team that was responsible for implementing MARMIND is they certainly had the patience of saints through that process.
It's also just so people know, Björn has also been in pod or on webinars with us at Marmind and so on as well. You can find that information on the website. Björn's also the guy that's in the weeds with everything Marmind. Let's say. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it's one thing you mentioned there, just around like having patience with different teams as some teams have been using the product longer than others, or you're moving over onto a new technology, whatever it might be. I find that you also need to probably have management that also have patience with the way that this is moving forward, because
Yeah.
people will throw you under the bus immediately, and then they'll be like, oh well,
Uh,
they'll go to their manager, and their manager will be like, well, this isn't working at all, and then you're trying to manage that. But you need to have the buy-in from leadership as well to say,
yeah.
okay, like this is moving in the right direction. Like, how do you maintain that buy-in going forward? Because some leaders can get impatient with it as well, I guess,
Really. I've never had that.
right? That would drive me nuts. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
No, and I'm very fortunate to have and work with leadership teams that, by the time we're moving forward on things tend to be bought in. But that's, a careful consideration as you go into any project like this is really checking, confirming that level of buy-in as you go, and managing differentiators or different status quo in a leadership team. Um, but then at the end of the day, they're the same as every other type of stakeholder. They've got particular needs, and need to talk to them about those needs, manage their expectations, and do it in a way that speaks to what it is that they want to see here and what they need to know in order to have further conversations, because you're not always going to be in the room, especially in a heavily virtual environment.
Yeah.
Um, so give them the information that they need, manage their expectations where it makes sense, and be super honest when things aren't going forward, and do it in a regular manner. You can't, project management 101 is, just give people information and do it in a regular cadence, so that they're not wondering when they're going to get information or if they miss something.
That's fair. That's fair. That's very good. Okay. Well, hey, tell me a little bit about the project that you're now working. So you're moving over from Google over to Microsoft, right?
Luckily, I don't have to do anything other than suffer through that change.
Okay.
I am very confident that 3 months from now, I will be happily working fully in a Microsoft environment, as soon as I can find all of my stuff. Um, yeah,
What could possibly go wrong? Microsoft never had any issues. There's never any issue with
nah,
Microsoft ever.
nah. But it's the same as any other systems.
Yeah.
Systems change, and we've got a handful of those. We recently, the team recently shared a case study on our new work with HubSpot that our B2B team has transitioned to, and that's in the same way. It's a very, you know, when you're moving email systems or customer engagement platforms from one system to another, you've got, the whole backlog of what one system meant to you, and the knowledge of knowing how to use it and where to find things and who to go to and who had information, and the generation or buildup of that knowledge base just takes time. Now
Fair.
we've got another area of our team that's going to be going through that same transition right now as we move away from the SAP Marketing Cloud that's been decommissioned. That's been kind of the pillar of our email marketing for the last 7 years. So that's a big change. The team's moving on now, and our modern CEPs are, they're set up to do different things, and that's great, but it's different.
Okay, so you're moving. So I don't know how much you can share on this, but it's interesting to me. So you're moving from SAP over to HubSpot. Is that correct?
We've already moved part off of SAP for our B2B marketing onto HubSpot. Can share obviously because we have a case study out with them that went live last week. And for our B2C marketing, we're in the process of moving that to a new system. And that's, it comes with a huge slew of opportunities, particularly in terms of customer-centric marketing and how it is that we can kind of engage with different and new pieces of technology, customer data platforms and otherwise, to really understand the signals that our customers are giving us and respond to them in a way that kind of batch and blast marketing of the past really was missing the mark. So there's a really exciting changes that are coming, but new systems, new processes means, recalibrating all sorts of stuff. The long tail.
That CDP change, I know that market very well. I work across a couple of brands, and a lot of my experience comes from that. So actually, SAP,
Yeah.
I work probably the tool you were using. I was working for that company for a number of years, but it's an incredibly challenging change. Like it's everybody has one of those platforms nowadays. You can be pretty certain
Yeah.
somebody has some level of CDP, so it's not even a
Yeah.
replacement any nowadays, or it's not even a go in and sell completely fresh. Like that doesn't exist anymore for these companies. It's so difficult to even sell nowadays because they need to go and do a full replacement, and that full replacement is such a headache for everyone concerned.
Yeah. I mean, it's you end up doing all sorts of, it's not just I bought something, I'm going to use my new toy, but rather I'm introducing or changing the landscape in a way that you're button elbows with capabilities of other tools as well. So I think we've spoken in the past also about ecosystem, an ecosystem of MarTech tools. I think we shared in a case study last year that we're moving towards the best of breed instead of the macro platform. That brings huge opportunities in the capabilities that individual software offers, but a complexity in terms of the decision making of where to use how much of who's what,
Yeah.
and how to connect it so that it makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
All fun and games, huh? All fun and
Absolutely.
games.
Gotta stay busy. We wouldn't
Exactly.
want to get bored around here.
And the fun never stops, really.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Well, hey, look, we're
Yeah.
just up on time now, Helen. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally made it work, even if I can't manage to stand my phone up against a cup. Hope nobody's gotten dizzy.
That's all right. We'll get people in the comments saying they got motion sickness, but it's fine. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
All right. Well,
That's
once
fine.
again,
That's all right.
keep it fluid.
Exactly.
Fab.
Helen, look, thanks a million. Where can people find you, Helen? If they want to connect.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm quite easy to find, and Helen Burbank.
Cool. I'll make sure that's
And
also shared.
yeah, fabulous. Look forward to it. Thanks so much
Perfect.
for having me.
No worries at all. Thank you again, Helen. Much appreciated.
Talk to you soon.
Cheers. Guys, this has been another episode of Masters of Marketing. Please tune in again next week for more great content. Thanks again, Helen.
Thanks.